can meet you halfway. We can't always know where the road ends up, but with some.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our new channel, Counter Intel 419 or Counterintelligence. This is a show that will focus on bringing you information that counters some of the myths and disinformation that is overwhelmingly disseminated throughout our community. We will also challenge some of the lies, propaganda, and omissions of truth in information that is critical to our history, as well as what's going on today. This show is for educational purposes, and before we get started, please make sure that you share, like, and subscribe to the channel. This show is sponsored by UMADOP Lucas County. And without further ado, let's get started. I want to welcome our first interview of the day for National Voter Registration Day. And I cannot begin to stress how important it is that people get registered to vote. I'm not telling you who to vote for, but make sure that you get out, get registered, and exercise your power to vote. And our first interviewee, brave interviewee, is Dr. LaShardae Scott. You are doing some wonderful things in the community. But before we get started with that, talk to me a little bit about what it is that you're doing here at the Frederick Douglass Community Center today, because we have a rally going on outside right now.
Yes.
In regards to making sure that people get registered to vote, or even making sure that they're still registered to vote, because so many people have been stripped of their voting opportunity. So explain to the people, what are you doing and why it's important?
Yes, so I'm a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, and we are here trying to get people to come through the drive through that we have for registering to vote. And we're also passing out information on the importance of vaccination and COVID-19. But in addition, just making sure that we are doing our part as a social community action organization to let people know that there is power in voting.
Absolutely, absolutely. And and one of the things that I find that we need to do all around this country. I mean, we got to just stop telling our young kids that the reason they need to vote is because people die. It's more to it than that. And they need to understand that voting impacts their lives on every level, especially the local level.
Yeah.
And can you talk about that a little bit in terms of?
So we know that we vote every 4 years for the president, but the vote matters regardless. But to create and drive the change, we also have to vote in our local areas to make sure that we get those individuals in those spaces or in those seats to be able to sway the votes the way that they need to go, so that we can create that impact
On the federal level.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So you said you got your community organization that's doing different things. What else do you do besides working in this arena in terms of the voting, helping people get registered to vote, getting that information out? What are some of the other things that you do?
So I am the president and CEO of Scott Center for Observation, Treatment, and Transition. I cover 11 counties of Northwest Ohio. I am the only organization that primarily focuses on sickle cell, navigating patients from pediatric to adult care. We also focus on mental health and infant mortality, but our biggest drive is sickle cell. We want to debunk the myths of sickle cell only impacting African Americans. That is so incorrect. Hispanics, Pacific and Islanders, individuals from Mediterranean countries, all those things. So just, Ohio is a very diverse state, and we just want to make sure that our organization is pushing and driving for us that information for the community to understand who's impacted and why.
So for those who have a European descent that may be watching this show right now, does sickle cell impact them at all?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it does.
So, but why is it assumed that it doesn't impact them? What do you know the reason behind that?
Well, we know just misinformed, not having that education piece, but My organization is really working hard to debunk those myths. And I'm always at community events like this just to kind of like spread that awareness. But we are located at 3100 West Central, Suite 202, and you can come get information at any time.
I'm so glad that you made that plug because that was going to be my next question. Where are you guys located? But you know what? In terms of sickle cell with the African American community, it is still having major impact. What is it that you would say to the African American community in terms of how they can get in front of the issues that's going on in terms of the with sickle cell? What type of treatments can be done, or do you or do your organization focus on that?
Yes, we focus.
Okay.
Anything sickle cell, we
Okay.
focus
All
on.
right.
But just to start, we have to stop saying sickle cell doesn't impact us or we don't know anybody.
Okay.
That's false. 1 out of 13 African Americans are diagnosed with sickle cell trait at birth. But then there's 1 out of 365 African Americans that are impacted by sickle cell disease. A lot of times patients are not sharing that information with friends. So you may have a friend that's impacted. You may have a family member that may be impacted. So we have to start empowering patients to be able to speak up and say this is what they're dealing with. But to get involved, one, being receptive of the information. Even if you're not impacted personally, there may be someone that you come across that is. Blood donations. We have a limit on A, B, O positive, O negative. There's a lack thereof. And we know why. We know the Tuskegee experiment and all those things kind of played a lot of reasons why individuals are so not receptive to wanting to donate blood, but it's a different process. I donate often. I also, and I didn't give this disclaimer, so I have 2 children that have sickle cell disease. So that's kind of what drove my mission. So this is more than just a job for me. It's personal. It's my passion. And I'm just really trying to like educate our community.
Okay. So you know what? I'm gonna bring this back full circle, but I want to ask this question before I ask my next question.
Okay.
Tell them, for those who may not know, what is sickle cell? So
Sure.
some people may not know or even understand what that is. Can you give us a little information in regards to that?
Absolutely. So sickle cell disease is an inherited blood disorder. You are born with this condition. It's not contagious. It's not something you get later in life, like cancer or anything like that. The blood cells are shaped like crescent moons, which causes a lot of pain, blockage in the blood vessel, which can cause fatigue, hospitalization for patients. So yeah, that's pretty much sickle cell in a nutshell.
And it can also plays a role in the life expectancy of those who have it, or is that a myth?
So I wouldn't say it's a myth. I try not to place an expectancy on it because God forbid, we can leave out of here and not make it, right?
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
I will say this: in the 50s and 60s, patients weren't living as long as they're living now. So I have patients living well into their 70s and 80s. So that is a huge, that's due to advances in medication.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a much different medication.
Absolutely. So COVID did play a good role for sickle cell patients because there were 3 medications that went into FDA approval. So, I know a lot of people lost their lives to COVID, but it was great for sickle cell patients.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's something that I did not know, and I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
So here's my question. Getting back around to voter registration.
Yes.
How does voting impact the medical industry or the treatment industry when it comes to diseases like sickle cell?
So if you don't have the right people, and I'm always going to Capitol Hill to speak about these things during
That's what I want to hear.
Rare Disease Week. It usually takes place in February, but if you don't have the right people in those seats, they are not listening. It does not impact them. So why should they care? Right.
Wow.
So we need to make sure that we are out here really voting for the individuals that are for us so that we can create impact higher up. But more importantly, that is how bills come about and they get passed through so that these treatments can be paid for. or so that they can even happen in general. So I say definitely get out here, register to vote, make your vote count. It does count.
Yes.
So we have to continue to understand that.
And more importantly, remember that when you're voting, you're just not voting for the individual. You're voting for your way of life.
Yes.
And you want to make sure you're voting for individuals who you think will have the most positive impact on your way of life.
Absolutely.
Would you agree with that?
I would agree.
Okay, all right. So lastly, if you could say anything to younger people that's on the fence about even registering to vote or voting period, what would you say? How can you inspire them? What would you say?
I'm a firm believer you cannot sit around and complain if you are not trying to change or make the change, right? So we cannot complain about the things that are not going right or why is this happening if we're not getting out here registering and voting and being the change that needs to come about. So
Absolutely.
that's what I'm gonna leave that with.
Hey, that was very good. I thank you for this short time. I want to invite you back because I think we need to have a much longer show when it's concerning the conversation around sickle cell and the new treatments that's available. I think our people need to really, and not just our people, but all those who are impacted by this disease. We need to make sure that we get that information out to the public. So I want to publicly invite you back, and I really appreciate you giving us some time to interview.
Yes, thanks for having me, and I look forward to that.
All right, thank you. All right, people, welcome back to our show today. This show is sponsored by Humadop Lucas County, and you already know what it is. It's What Up, Fam? Spread the love. This is another episode, and today we're talking to different individuals that's here at the Frederick Douglass Community Center for our rally that's going on for National Voter Registration Day. And my second interviewee is Miss Harriet Talley. We call her Petey.
Yes.
How you doing, Miss Talley?
I'm good.
Miss
brother.
Talley is with the Ohio Coalition on Black Civic Participation, or better known as the Ohio Unity Coalition.
Yes, sir.
Talk to us first about your coalition and why it is vitally important that not only do we get registered, but we also practice our right, use our power to vote.
Thank you so much for having me here today. The Ohio Coalition on Black Civic Participation is a state affiliate of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation, an organization that's been around for about 47 years. And we've been doing this work as a state affiliate in Ohio for probably 20 of those 47 years. We are on the ground trying to get individuals registered to vote, get them educated about what is on the ballot, when voting takes place, and then making sure that we go back and talk to those individuals about participating in the election. And that's any election, not just presidential. We want people to show up for local elections, state elections, as well as federal elections. And so we do that work as the Ohio Unity Coalition. We're state-based, but we're headquartered here in Toledo because I, as the executive director, hail from the 419.
Right.
And so I'm happy to have the headquarters here, but we run these operations in Ohio's urban centers, the Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, Youngstown, Dayton, Toledo, Lorain, Akron, anywhere Black voters live, we want to make sure that we're working to increase their participation in our election system.
Here's a question I have for you first. Why is there a specific concentration on Black voters? And why is it important?
Yeah, we're just really, 60 years, 61 years since the passage of the Voting Rights Act. So it's not like Blacks have had the right to vote for that long, right?
Absolutely.
And so that's why it's important. We Black voters are still underrepresented in the voter file in Ohio. There are roughly 250,000 Black individuals who are eligible to be registered to vote, but are still unregistered to vote. And so we want to make sure that we're doing outreach so that we can find those voters, make sure that they understand that they could and how the ease of registration, and encourage them to actually do so. And that's why we are focused primarily on Black voters. There are others that are underrepresented our democracy, but disproportionately Black voters across the state of Ohio.
So you're saying there's basically 225,000 people that's not registered. Now, but also when it comes to actual voting, what are the percentage of those that are registered that are actually getting out voting regularly?
That's the other challenge that we have. So once you're registered to vote, you have to, we should be participating in every election. And sadly, we are not for whatever reason. And so a part of our work in the Ohio Coalition, Unity Coalition, is to make sure that we go out and try to talk and touch those voters, talk to them about the importance of their vote in elections. We encounter a lot of apathy. Most voters don't believe that their vote makes a difference, but it's important for us to go out and have the conversation about the changes that can happen in our community if in fact we go vote. So the unfortunate part is that voter turnout in Black communities averages roughly 10% behind everybody else. But we're working very feverishly every election cycle to try to close that gap.
Okay. So I think this question is very critical because with our show, we like to dispel a lot of myths that's out there.
Mhm.
In the state of Ohio, there's still a lot of people who have committed felonies that's no longer incarcerated that think they can't vote.
Mhm.
Could you talk about that?
Yeah, there are some states that is in fact the case. That is not the case, however, in Ohio. Once you have been convicted of a felony and you have served your time and you are released back into the community, the only thing you need to do is re-register. Now, your rights are not automatically restored. None of us have the right to vote unless we're registered.
Right.
So for formerly incarcerated people, the same thing is true. You must re-register, but once you do that, then you are fully restored to participate in any and every election. There may be some small exceptions. I'm not even sure what they are. That's how small they are. So most people who are formerly incarcerated regain their right to vote, even if they're on probation or parole, as long as they're not sitting inside a state institution or a federal institution at the time of voting. They can register as long as they're within the 30-day window, just like everyone else, and actually cast ballots in the elections.
And make sure anybody that just heard that knows someone who is dealing with that, please make sure that you get out and let those people know that in Ohio, in the state of Ohio, in many other states, and I only think it's only about 7 at this time throughout the entire United States that have the law where a felon can't vote for life.
That's great.
Which hopefully we're gonna get that changed.
That's right.
But the power of the vote, that's how we get it changed. But anyway, in the state of Ohio, once you are released from being incarcerated from behind bars, you can re-register and you are allowed to vote.
Absolutely.
So make sure you exercise your power, especially for those who've been incarcerated before. I would think that many men that is coming from prison, especially is changing their lifestyle. They should know more than anybody why it's important to vote because of the conditions that still exist in some of our prisons that can also be changed by the power of the vote.
Absolutely.
So if nothing else motivates you, let that be something, hopefully, that can motivate you to make sure that you get registered and get out and vote. Is there anything else you want to tell the people about today and the importance of us doing this work?
Yeah, so today is National Voter Registration Day, y'all. We really only have until October 7th in the state of Ohio to make sure that we are registered and ready to vote in this upcoming November presidential election, as well as other races that are on the ballot. We want to make sure that everyone is registered that wants to register to vote. So we're out here at the Douglas Center. You don't even have to get out of your car. Just roll up on the Douglas Center, roll into the parking lot. We can get you to scan a code, get you to fill out the form online. If you don't want to, if you don't have a smartphone, someone will come up to your window. You can write out your voter registration form. We'll make sure that we get that turned in for you. And the other thing, the other reason that it's important for us today is because a number of people in Lucas County just were purged off of the voter roll. I think the number is roughly 6,000.
Wow.
That's a lot of people, y'all. So it's not that once you're registered to vote, you're always registered. It's important and imperative that we always verify and check and make sure that we have not rolled off of the voter rolls because we are not participating in every election. So again, you could come up, drive up. We can scan the code, get you registered to vote, but you could also scan the code just to verify your voter registration and make sure you haven't rolled off the rolls. We're celebrating today because today is a day that we can do this as a community. Come on out and join us here at the Douglas Center so that we can celebrate the very historic Voting Rights Act of 1965.
Real quick, before you go, I was going to let that be your last question, but you said a key word. I cannot let you get out here without talking about this. When you say purge, tell the people what that means, that they've been purged from the voting roll.
Right. So we know that people pass away. We know people move out of state, and we agree that if you pass away or you're no longer a resident of the state of Ohio, you probably should be removed from the voter rolls. But they are purging voters for lack of voting in a particular election. And we're not clear which criteria the Secretary of State is using to make these purges happen. And so this year alone, there were statewide 158,000 registered voters who were scheduled for cancellation. You can get canceled off of the voter roll if you don't respond to a yellow postcard that you may have received from the Lucas County Board of Election. If you got the card and they were asking you to confirm your address and you failed to do so, unfortunately, you could be on that list of individuals that are going to roll off the voter roll. The only way to prevent coming off that roll is to make sure that we verify and we're ready to vote by October. So we don't want to be purged. We don't want to be purging is simply canceling your registration, and then you have to start all over again. It's okay if it happens and you find yourself in that situation. We can help you get back on the rolls pretty quickly by simply scanning the code, updating your information if you are in confirmation status, and or registering you to vote so that you can vote in this historic election.
Of the 150,000 people that was scheduled to be removed, do you know what percentage of that 150,000 was African Americans?
I can tell you this, more than half of the 158,000 came from cities where 98% of Black Ohioans live. So they came from the counties of Cuyahoga County, which is Cleveland, Hamilton County, which is Cincinnati, Lucas County, which is Toledo, Montgomery County, which is in Dayton, Mahoning County, which is in Youngstown, Summit County, which is in Akron. So more than half of the 158,000 come from counties, were purged from counties where 90% of the African-American Ohioans live. So I would say on par, we were overrepresented on that purge list.
And with that, let me say this. If someone is intentionally trying to prevent you from voting, you need not ask why your vote is important, because that should tell you everything you need to know as about the power that you have when you go in that booth and make your selection of the people who you want to represent you, who you feel would be beneficial in making sure that your lifestyle or the things that you want and the things that you need will be heard on Capitol Hill.
Absolutely.
Ms. PD, I truly, truly appreciate you coming in to do this interview. We must have a longer discussion. I'm gonna let you get back out to the party, and we're gonna bring another interviewee in. Please, everybody that's watching the show, stay on. Keep watching for the next couple of minutes. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back with our next interviewee, which should be Anita Madison. Right. So let me know when you're ready. For about 10 minutes.
Very quiet.
Welcome back, everybody. We continuing on with our interview for National Voter Registration Day. I have here with me now Miss Anita Madison from the Ohio Unity Coalition. And I'm going to start you off like I started everybody else off. And I think I've asked you this question numerous times before. Why is it important that these folks get out, get registered to vote?
Man, first of all, you know, our tagline for this campaign this year is power of the ballot. And that is what makes it so important, because that's where your power is, at the ballot box. That's where your voice is heard, at the ballot box. That's why it's so important. Is because nobody knows what you think or what you are concerned about if you don't express that concern in some way. And the best way to do it is at the ballot box. Why? Because the ballot box is where you are involved in deciding who is going to set policy for you.
Set policy for who?
You.
One more time.
For you.
For you. All right. Okay. So Miss Tally, who we just interviewed, said something that I thought was just, oh my God. It just, I mean, do I want to say disturbing, but at the same time, very enlightening. She said that almost 150,000 people was on the rolls.
I knew you were coming with that data.
To be purged. And of course, I asked her, of that 150,000 statewide, how many of them was African American? She couldn't give me the exact number, but she said over 50% of that 150,000 were people in counties where 98% of Black folks live.
So that tells you a little something.
And so my closing statement with her interview was simply, if people is trying to suppress your vote, you don't need no other reason to understand why you should be voting. Because people ain't trying to keep you from doing something
that doesn't have any impact.
That don't have impact.
It's over 6,000. Matter of fact, 6,150 in Lucas County alone. That ain't not thinking about being purged, might get purged, that have been purged on July 22nd.
I just talked to an elected official who said that the very first election he ran in, he won by 1 vote. So what do you think 6,100 and what? 50 votes can do in an election?
Man, I mean, those numbers alone can win or lose an election.
But more importantly, to your point, and I think we stressed this in the first two interviews with Dr. Scott and Ms. Petey. Are you doing the research to make sure that who you're voting for is someone who is going to set policy that helps you? Why aren't we? I'm going to be honest with you, Anita, and I shared this with my men's group. I believe that we done our younger generation a disservice by constantly saying, well, the reason why you should vote is because people die for you to vote. Yeah, that's okay, but what about the policies that affect them day to day to day that they have no clue as to how voting plays a role in those things?
I sat down with I've been sitting down with some young folks. In fact, they have a rally coming up on the 26th of this month down at the Ohio Unity Coalition, 2903 door, from 5 to 8. They'll be there. Their rally begins at 6.
Mhm.
And when I asked these young folks what they were concerned about, they were concerned about gas, food, you know, whether we want to look at it or not, this is how they framed it: abortion and climate change.
Mm.
And I was like, floored. For one thing, in terms of reproductive rights, people can call it a lot of different things, but it has to do with aftercare. It has to do with contraceptives. It has to do with so much. And these young folks are concerned about those issues. So how do we tie in, or these young people that get it, how do they tie in those issues with an election? How does that tie together? And that's their job on the 26th, is to be a voice to, they ain't gonna listen to me. So we have some young folks who are going to be talking to other young folks who, without you mentioned research, and Mick, I'm gonna tell you, the vast majority of people don't do any kind of research. In fact, on certain issues, I'm not doing no research on it. If I know Mick doing research on it, I'm just gonna go to Mick's page and read it. Most people don't do research on elections. And I'm talking about regular folk. I ain't talking about somebody that's despair. I'm talking about people walking around here every day with you, don't know that an election was held back in March.
Mhm.
And it's just, if you're not in that game, you're not gonna know.
And that's powerful that you're saying that, because how can you not be in a game that is organized and dictate how you move and how you don't move?
Well, you have trusted messengers who a lot of our organizations have to be to people. We're out here now at the Frederick Douglass Center waiting on our community to bum rush in to verify their voting status,
Mhm.
whether or not, I would say probably 50% of the people who have come today, voting registration was not right.
Wow. Are you?
I'm telling you, every other person needed to either re-register, update their address, or do something. Just as many people who came and scanned and said, "Oh, my registration is good," that's almost the same number of people had something wrong.
Speaking of which, I'm gonna be transparent and share something real quick. About 3 people that said something to me about they didn't know that my address had changed, and my address hasn't changed. So when we done, I'm gonna go out there and make sure
Listen,
my stuff is right.
We are telling people, I don't care if you are an active voter, check your
Right.
registration.
Yes.
The powers that be that does that, the Secretary of State, when they do this purging, they have a oops me all the time.
Say, oops me.
Oops. I didn't mean to regular people, voting people, end up getting purged. And so everybody, I don't care how regularly you vote, check it takes 2 seconds.
So before we get off, please tell the people about what's going on here today, why they should get down here, or bring somebody down here who they know should either get registered or check their status.
Listen,
Please share
it's
this
so
with them.
important that you said send somebody, bring somebody, drag somebody. It is so vitally important. The deadline to register to vote is October 7th. And it is so vitally important for people to know their status before early vote starts, because after that, it's too late
Yes.
to do anything about it. I was talking to a young man this morning who asked me to run a family member of his. And I said, ooh, he needs to re-register. He's in confirmation status, which means somebody from the Secretary of State's office or the Board of Elections was trying to get a hold of him and did not.
Wow.
That's how you get on the list to be purged.
Wow.
Failing to respond to those postcards that they send that look like Valvoline oil change things you throw in the garbage. No punt for Valvoline, but that's what it looks like. It looks like, and people don't respond to them. And I saw this young man running across the grass of the Douglas Center on the Indiana side. I'm like, God, he's running with a purpose. He came over here. He said, I'm over here because I got a call saying I'm about to be purged.
And it was him?
And so he couldn't, he was like, no, my address is, and he said his name. I said, oh, you're the young man I ran this morning. You need to register. You're in confirmation status. Well, he was gone for school. He just graduated college. He's been gone for 4 years. He hasn't voted in a national election, two consecutive national elections. He was gone to school. He probably, I don't know what they do, but he's back home now. And his voting status was in jeopardy. Wow. And he ran over here. And so I got his picture and everything and sent it to the person that called me to send him. And so I'm saying, you ain't got to go door to door. Go in the next room. That's and right. There's somebody in there that you need to send down to the Frederick Douglass Center to verify their voter registration status and re-register if they need to. That's it's right. So important.
Very important. Hey, I want to thank you for coming in.
Yes,
we have
thank
to
you.
Do this again.
Thank you.
We have some other stuff we're going to cover in the future, but today is about National Voter Registration.
You know, I just want to publicly thank the Frederick Douglass Center and Reggie Williams and you as the board president for allowing the Ohio Unity Coalition and all of his partners, y'all one of them, to be on the grounds today. This is a community hub. And so we wanted to get away from our traditional office and get into the community. And I hope the community eventually will show up. We got food trucks, we got giveaways, we got all kinds of information. We even got some comparisons in the candidates, the national candidates. Okay. We got some we're nonpartisan. So we have the comparisons of both candidates here. If you're interested, just please come on down.
I just want to correct you one thing. I am now officially just a board member. We had voting. And we named the new
elections.
President.
We done had an election.
Yeah, we didn't have an election.
Who was the new board president?
Our new board president, Mr. Steve Harris. And, we want to
thank Mr. Steve Harris too.
Right. We groomed our young man to be able to get in this position because I believe that we got to get out of the habit of wanting to hold the time till we 150,000 years old.
We have to. Don't listen. You can't go from the position to the funeral home. We gotta stop that.
We gotta stop that. We gotta let our young people lead.
Yes.
And I think we gotta.
That is just to give another plug for that youth rally. That youth rally is youth planned, youth led, and it's going to be nothing but youth speakers. We did nothing but facilitate the discussion. And they're gonna do this entire the first time we've ever embarked on that. It's September 26th. So
let's make sure we have a show in regard to that to promote that.
Yes, you can even bring your stuff down there and do a podcast if you want to.
Well, all right.
Well, I see your setup. I ain't gonna
so much.
I ain't gonna say all of that, but
hey, look. My engineer over there.
Now you got a bad engineer.
That'll be her job.
You see all that stuff she got over there?
But she won't have to carry everything.
She looking at me like, you better go on, girl. Yeah. But yes, we're excited about today, and we know our community is going to show up after they get off work.
Right. But hey, whenever they show up, please show up and let's get this done. Yes. I thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mick, for having me.
All right, and we'll be back. We got one more interview for you, so stay tuned. You're going to see this little page and say, sorry, we'll be right back. Just stay locked and loaded with us if you're watching live. Stay locked and loaded. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for remaining with us throughout these interviews today for National Voter Registration Day. We have another wonderful guest here that we'll be interviewing, Miss Deborah Barnett of the Ohio Unity Coalition. And Miss Barnett, I've been knowing you for a long time.
Oh, a very, very long time. A very, very long time.
And
I was young and you were in high school.
yes. That's where we met. So I want to ask you, as I've asked all the other interviewees, why is it important? Why is this work important that you guys are doing today here at the Frederick Douglass Center? And why is it important for the community as well as the nation?
Well, it's important because just on this past Sunday, I sent out a family text. We have a group text, and to explain to my children, my grandchildren, to my cousins that we stand on the shoulders of grandparents who took this time of voting very seriously.
Can I pause you for 1 second? Let me say this. You just said something that most people don't want to talk about, or maybe forget to talk about. You said your grandparents.
Correct.
You didn't talk about leaders that your people ain't never met. You said your grandparents. Please, oh my God, please continue.
Well, being the oldest grandchild of my grandparents, I saw many things that maybe my cousins and my sisters and brothers didn't see. And I saw my grandfather doing voting time, sit at the dining room table and do his research. We talk a lot about go do your research. And now it's really easy. He had to go out and buy a newspaper. He had to sit down at the dining room table. He had to circle the issues that affected him and his family so he could go and vote. So he could vote being an informed voter.
Wow. What's even more amazing about that, just thinking about that, my grandfather couldn't read. So he had to depend on others to kind of keep him informed in terms of the extra stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But he knew because he listened well. And I most people back then had a different level of discernment than what I think we have, this generation has. And so, yeah, just the fact that they really studied and wanted to be informed voters, but knowing what they was up against if they decided to go to those polls, what they could face.
Well, coming from the South, my mother was born in 1932. So coming from the South, my grandparents experienced not being able to vote. So this was really special and important to them. I even remember my oldest uncle was talking about he wasn't gonna go. My vote don't count. And my grandfather said, if you live in this house, you gonna go vote.
As for me and my house.
That's right. You gonna go vote. So our children and grandchildren, we've educated them. They know how to read, but they need us to encourage them of the importance of getting out to vote. It affects so many things in their life that freedoms that we have grown accustomed to having, they're being taken away. And if our vote wasn't important, they wouldn't work so hard eliminating and putting barriers in place to keep us from voting.
And you just gave confirmation to what we talked about the last 3 interviews. So keep see what I'm talking about.
I mean, they're taking away freedoms.
Yeah.
I mean, and if they take away, and I have to go here, our woman's freedom to choose what we want to do and what's best for us, why should somebody else have that right? Why should somebody else have that right to tell me that I can't take care of myself in the manner in which I want to take care of myself. I've never heard any, and I have many, many friends, girlfriends, and we have girlfriend talks. I never, ever heard any of my girlfriends say, I want to have an abortion. I never heard them say that. So this push about taking that part of it away is nobody says that. So it is our healthcare decisions and the freedoms around it that's being taken away. Because once they take one thing away, they won't stop. If history has shown you anything, once somebody get away with something one time, they're not satisfied with that. They're gonna come back for some more.
Absolutely, absolutely. You must protect your rights as a citizen.
As a citizen, why do you have the right to tell me what to do, but I don't have the right to tell you, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. So that was what the conversation was about in the last 3 interviews. Voting, we're not telling people who to vote for, but vote for people who is going to create and push for policies that affects you most.
Without a doubt. One of my great experiences was the 2020 census. I was hired by the city of Toledo, Lucas County commissioners, the Toledo Community Foundation, the Toledo Public Library to conduct all of the outreach around the census and going around explaining why that aspect of our lives was important. And because they look at our voting records, they look at our voting records, and if you don't vote, they don't pay a particular attention to your neighborhood. I was with Jack Ford, told the people, y'all don't vote over here. So these things that you want your streets fixed and you want them to pick up your garbage on a regular basis, they take their time to clean. They take their time because they go down there and they keep accurate records of who vote. And if you don't vote, I got to spend my time on the people that are voting because they're going to speak up about things not happening in their neighborhoods.
And to your point, here's what I would like to tell people. No, here's what I'm going to tell people and continue to tell people. You can complain all you want. It's the action behind your complaint that's going to make things move.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing they do know that a lot of us bark real loud, but when it comes to action, that's what they're looking at. So if you ain't voting, 9 times out of 10, you're not gonna follow through on your bark.
Yes.
You ain't gonna chase me.
No.
you just gonna bark.
Yes.
Even as I'm walking away from you, you're gonna still be barking. And eventually I'm not going to even hear your bark because I'm walking so far away from you and you stand in the same place and ain't willing to do anything about it to make sure that I come back and do what you need me to do. And so that's what our people need to learn. So I hear you loud and clear. It's about voting and being active in terms of making sure that you get what it is that you need for your community, for your family, for you.
Yes. It's been an interesting ride for me. I was on the Toledo Public School Board for one term. I was a one-term politician. I like to work in the community, doing these things that help educate and inform our citizens, about different things that affect them in the community. I mean, I'm involved in two events coming up. One is for grandparents. There's a number of grandparents taking care of their grandkids. So the Neighborhood Housing Association is hosting, says superheroes need support too.
That's right.
So they're having to bring resources to help these families. But Neighborhood Health Association needs us to vote because we get federal funds.
You see how it's being impacted?
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's so many reasons why your vote count. I remember a couple years ago, and there was an issue, and some gentleman was sitting at a podcast like this, and they didn't realize that the issue that was on the ballot had a number of things in it that made it difficult for people to understand what they were voting for and or against. And when they broke it down and they got the information from informed people, I don't want to call it out.
Wow.
They
So-
said, this is what this means.
Right.
And they understood at that moment. Here again, you're providing a service through this podcast to inform people. And when they found out what was happening, I mean, my street's not going to get fixed if I don't vote for this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important to, if you don't understand about how to get your research, then ask somebody in the community. That's what your public officials are for.
Yeah.
Call them up, email them to ask them questions about what you don't understand.
Absolutely. I want to thank you for joining us today. You have been such a informative interview. I greatly appreciate all the things that you have done over the years, and please continue to assist us in every way that you can.
Oh, I'm gonna
because
do
the
that.
knowledge and all the things that you bring to the table for our community is much needed, and I thank you.
Okay. And thank you for allowing me this opportunity.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
All right.
All right.
Everybody have a blessed day out there.
Right, that's right. Thanks again. Hey, and you know what? Stay tuned. Just a few minutes. I'm going to do a closing comment. So stay with us for just a few more minutes. All right, people, welcome back. Hey, and let me tell you, man, this wrap-up interview is about to be fun. This is gonna be true barbershop talk. so get ready. I'm here with my man Montrese.
Hear me, hear me. I'm back in the studio with my iconic brother, Negro Damas from the Hometown Live. We get a chance to do what we do and doing it in an original and authentic way. What's up, Mick, man? The studio and the studio looks great, man. The Spread the Love studio looks great, man.
Thank
Right
you.
here at the Dug.
At the Dug, man. So yes, man.
How you feel?
I'm feeling good. And how about yourself, brother?
Man, I can't complain, man. I just still hold my stomach in while we talking. Oh. So I hope we get straight to it. No, I'm just joking.
Look, I ain't even gonna suck it in.
It is what it is.
It's over.
Well, Mick,
So
let
look, man, this day, man, this is National Voters Registration Day, man. You out here assisting, doing your thing, man. As always, you always have been a part of for a very long time since I've known, been promoting, getting out on our people about, being involved in things that's going to improve their lives, whether it's be voting or any other thing, that all the discussions that we have. So what do this day mean to you, man? Let me just ask that question first.
An opportunity. It means opportunity, and having a platform like this, again, being able to be in the studio and have really conversation with somebody that I know, who knows my day-to-day in terms of works and services. So, man, this is awesome. And in fact, Mick, I had a chance yesterday being a part of Frank LaRose, our Secretary of State's, his Diversity and Empowerment Council. We had our meeting yesterday. So we kind of got a chance to a statewide meeting to kind of chat about this day that's happening, this National Signing Day. And there was some, just think about this. Why you asked me why this was so exciting. Think about how we do in sports, Mick. The Ohio Voter Registration Family and Friends National Signing Day.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Bringing the Board of Elections, bringing our community, our families together, why our family members and students sign their voter registration cards with the bells and whistles.
Oh, that's all right.
Why is that all right, Mick? Why that's all right? Why you think that's pretty?
Because to be quite honest with you, that's just as important as the signing that letter of intent.
Wow.
Because you sign in, you basically sign in your letter of intent to make sure that policy is created that's going to benefit not only you but your people.
And guess what we was talking about having it at?
Where?
At the Frederick Douglass Community Association. The
Well,
Ohio Voter Registration
Well-
National, Family and Friends National.
well, let's have it here.
So that's why I'm excited. And that was something that you didn't even know was
Right.
taking place when we talk about those backdoor conversations about how we impact our people.
Man.
But yeah, that was something that came up. So that's why I'm excited about today, man.
That'll be something very historic. In this front, and I'm gonna say historic to give you a little history.
Negro Dominance, y'all, he got it.
Albertus Brown, who founded the Frederick Douglass Community Center, not only founded the Frederick Douglass Community Center or Community Association in 1919, the year of Red Summer, which is noted as the worst year of riots of racial riots in American history. But prior to that, he brought the third oldest chapter of the NAACP here to Toledo. The third oldest chapter in the nation of the NAACP was formed right here in Toledo by Albertus Brown.
Wow.
Now, not only that, he was a part of a demonstration to make sure that they get the white only signs and the no color people allowed signs that was on businesses downtown Toledo. He used his power to make sure that all of that stuff was removed off the doors. How did that happen? Because of his relationships and because of the power of the people. And at that time, we didn't even have a large power of people just to vote.
Wow.
But we had enough people who demonstrated to say, no, that's got to go. So in that vein, that's why any event like that's never been done before, if it's done on the grounds of here, we standing on the shoulders of real giants, bro.
Man, and that's why, as they would say, period, Pooh. And that's why this being the home court and the home of the Ohio Voter Registration Family and Friends National Signing Day.
Absolutely.
With all the amenities and the families and that need the information from the streets to the suites. So that's in the long haul of the question that you asked me, Mick. That's what I'm excited about today. The endless opportunities that we have to connect our people with information that impacts their lives for the rest of their life.
Yeah. Let me tell you what I like about the Ohio Unity Coalition. It's a nonpartisan organization. So we're not telling people who to vote for. All we telling you is be informed and vote for those who are going to create policy that is going to benefit you the most.
And we can do it in an engaging and exciting atmosphere. We can celebrate that.
Absolutely.
And that's the part that I enjoy about even bringing these pieces together, being informed, but we doing it in a creative space that says, man, I can celebrate making a decision.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We and some of the decisions, as we know, may come with consequences and rewards, but it doesn't have to have the long, drawn out, we want to inform you, we want to do this. No, let's celebrate each other in information.
Yes,
that changes our lives for the rest of our lives.
That's right. Absolutely.
Absolutely. One other piece that's happening right here, and this is on the brink of what you're talking about historically. This Sunday, Reinvest Toledo is starting a 4 series of the Power Tour, and it's Unlocking Your Vote. We're going to be over at the Collinwood Arts Center from 2 to 4. But the meat of the potato that we like is, Mick, they're bringing civic engagement and meeting arts and humanity. So in that creative space of arts and humanity, poetry, singing, we're meeting with the civic engagement, educating all folks in a creative way. So I'm excited about this Power Tour, and I have never seen it in this element, but to be happening right here in Toledo, to know that we're connecting civics with arts, I think it big business.
Definitely. Why don't you talk about those signs real quick that you have on the table, man?
So, man, I'm glad I get a chance to do that. And this is simply, and I heard some of your other conversations, just restoring the vote. And what this simply is streaming from, Secretary of State's office has a couple of initiatives. And Restore Your Vote is for those that may have some legal issues and knowing where they are legally and do they have an opportunity to vote. All you have to do is on any social media, Restore Your Vote or ohiovote.gov, and you can learn more about it. Because the 5 points that want to be made about this initiative is that you can be on probation, and vote. You can be on detention, you can be on house arrest and vote. You can be in jail awaiting trial and vote. So if I'm locked up in the county, they still have means for us to get our votes in. Now, the provision ballot and things of that nature. And I want you to ask me a question because there's 2 more. And then a variety of community corrections. We have our halfway houses. You can vote. And then after you have completed your sentence, and I myself have went through a legal process that now I have restored my right to be able to vote. So I like those 5 points. But I know you, Mick, when I mentioned about in jail waiting to vote, meaning now maybe in prison, and they're still working on that. But there's a difference.
Yeah. But how do we get that information out other than just through the podcast, being up here at the Frederick Douglass Center? How do we get that information out to the country, to the city, to those who need to hear it the most?
I'm so glad that you asked.
And I know you got to answer, brother.
I don't necessarily got to answer, but I got a solution.
Okay.
You take it where the people are.
All right.
One of the 2 other things to answer your question, and you asked about the second sheet, Styling for Democracy, which we can let folks know. Styling for Democracy is an initiative that it hits our salons and beauty salon. So look good while you go into the polls or put in your absentee ballot, whatever the case may be.
I like that. I like that.
We got an initiative called My Fit, My Vote. The other piece that now that is happening, and I can say that this was a lot of coming from the diverse statewide council.
Mhm.
They are meeting the folks with voter information at the bars, at the club, at any of your social places, your cabarets. And guess what that initiative is called in Ohio?
What is it called,
Raise Your Glass. You can follow it and find out more about it on any social media. Just put in Ohio Raise Your Glass. And it's meeting people
Where they at?
at the agenda, at the classic, at any of our other spot, the Peacock. Raise your glass, but make sure you know about voting. And look good doing it with style.
Right.
So what I like about Ohio and I like about us, although we get caught up sometimes making the party piece, man, they got purpose, man. And Ohio's willing to listen to purpose because these initiatives, Restore Your Vote, Styling for Democracy, Raise Your Glass, that impacts us.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna kind of change it in your direction a little bit, Mick. Just with those three things, what's your knee-jerk thoughts with those different initiatives?
I think all of them. I think every event is much needed. I think that it's powerful. I think that it will have impact, and you definitely are going to get some of those people who may not even thought about registering to register.
Wow.
And the most important thing, though, even to get them to think. But the Restore Your Vote, the people that's in jail that don't know that they can get a ballot, man, the more information we can get out on that would be critical. But I think that those are three initiatives that's vitally important, and we need to talk about that even after today.
Absolutely.
We can have a much longer conversation.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, man, I appreciate you coming in and allowing me to snatch you.
Man, I love you.
Out of
That's
the
why.
crowd.
And I see you spreading the love. I love you, Mick.
I love you too, bro.
You have been, and you are continuing to be our big brother and our teammate in this community effort and learning, and just proud of the things that's happening here at What Up Fam? Let's Spread the Love Studios right here on the campuses of the Frederick Douglass Community Association.
Absolutely, bro. Hey, man, I appreciate you, man. And I'm gonna get you back, man, soon, man. We gonna chop it up.
Can you open up where the cameras is? Can you open it a little way so I can squeeze through? Because you got it like real tight in here, and I want to breathe on the mic.
Hey, let's just say this: if I can squeeze through it, so can you. Hey, that's how we get down, man. That's how we get down, man. This is my brother, man. Hey, listen, it's been a great show. I greatly appreciate everybody for tuning in. And for those that watch the show later, please make sure you like, share, subscribe to the channel. And I would be remiss if I don't say that this show is sponsored by UMaDOT Lucas County. And make sure that y'all get out. Hey, grab that glass over there, Montree, and say, tell the people, spread
the love. So let's raise our glass, our cup.
All right.
He's got it made. He won't admit it, but it's just a masquerade. He's a modern day deceiver with a case of falsehood fever. But today, it's a game. And then there's dear sister Sarah, ain't she sweet? Oh, yes, she is. She gets the word, next thing you know, it's in the street. By the time it's been repeated, all the truth has been deleted. What a shame. Love her again. Seems like everything we hear is just a tale